What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Trill Bro Dude, and today I am very excited to have back onto the podcast the E-Mart, who is fresh off the Sixers' big win against the Miami Heat in Game 3, Joel Embiid's return. E-Mart, how you feeling, bud?
I'm feeling awesome. You texted me, my buddy RJ, who I go to all the games with, he drove up Columbus Ave, and here I am. So, man, right out of a cannon, just like Tyrese Maxey in the second half. It was what a game, what a heart, like everybody just playing with heart, and that's the kind of team win and thing you build on, and I don't know. That was awesome. It was great night tonight, you know.
Yeah.
And, oh man, Embiid, like not knowing if he's going to play. Assuming I kind of felt like he was like no one was willing to like really rule him out. They're like, he's out, but look, we'll see. Like,
yeah, like they were trying to play tactics on the Heat, and I'm like, the Heat are probably assuming he's playing because what's the major adjustment if Joel Embiid doesn't play? Like, it's like your entire game plan is going to be built around stopping Joel Embiid, and if he doesn't play, your entire game plan is built around stopping James Harden. So really, the difference there really isn't when it comes from a preparing standpoint, but just like leading up to the game, it did feel like he was going to play, but of course they're throwing us, trying to throw us off the scent and blah, blah, blah. It gets announced like right before the game that he is going to play. Chris Haynes announces it, and I'm sure the building was fucking going insane when he came out.
It was awesome. So I went into work today. I work in Old City, and I do sports market research. So I will wear jerseys and stuff. And I brought this jersey because I was going right from the game. And as soon as like there was like an announcement where it was like probable, I'm like, I'm just putting this jersey on today. That's what's going to happen. I'm buying the Embiid. This is an Embiid jersey just for.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have my lucky bucket and hoodie on. I've now worn this in three straight wins, so I got to start wearing it all the time now.
Look, I got my new ball on the on some of these calls, and people are like, "Hey, where do you get that?" I'm like,
support the brand, baby.
Clean shirt. But so I'm pumped. I'm feeling the vibes. Honestly, like this Heat team they're not that good. And here's what I feel about that. And I don't know. Some people are like, "Well, you're not giving enough credit." It's like this series, we shot so poorly from three in the first two games.
Yeah.
And there was maniac quotes from Doc. Like there was all of that. But like this series has felt like it's just come down to who's shooting better from three. And the Sixers have been getting consistently better looks, even in the losses without Embiid. So
absolutely.
Put Embiid on the floor, take away their Bam Adebayo points. You don't even need Embiid to score 30. You just need him to limit what they're doing, make it even harder for them, not be a traffic cone. And
you need him to not be DeAndre Jordan, and that is the easiest bar in the world for Joel Embiid to clear. Like someone tweeted at me and put it perfectly. They said, the Sixers look a lot better when you replace the worst player in the NBA with the best player in the NBA. Like, and I do just want to say, like, Miami, the fact that we hung in those first two games, like the first game, it was frustrating because Miami didn't shoot well at all, and we couldn't pull out anything because I felt as though the DeAndre minutes at the beginning killed us. Like I talked a lot about it. It's like when you get out to a slow start like that, it's just an uphill battle. The rest of the game, it's really hard to, especially like, look, this Miami team is not I don't think they're a contender. I don't think they're like going to win the finals or anything, but they're still like the one seed in the East.
Yeah. They're deep and they have talent.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, their top end guys like Hero or Bam are going to go off on any given night. Hero, Bam, or Butler are going to go off on any given night if you give them the opportunities to. And what was so frustrating about the first game was that, but by the second game, I honestly I wasn't even mad at Doc anymore. Like, I thought he was trying some weird shit, but I was just like, you can't shoot 18% from three and win playoff games, and also on top of that, be missing your best player, and the entire roster is completely built around the concept of having Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Tyrese Maxey, and to a lesser extent, but this version of Tobias Harris has been fantastic. He's been awesome.
He's been our most consistent player. Every game he's bringing it on both ends. He almost had a triple-double tonight. He fouled out, which was weird. There was a lot of fouls in this game just in general.
Yeah. He also missed a bunch of shots and had a few like old Toby moments, but like the one thing I will say about Tobias is it feels like he makes a lot more winning plays now.
Yes, he does.
Like
he does. He's a quick decision maker all of a sudden, which been begging him to be this quick decision maker for basically the entire time he's been here. But something clicked. Maybe Harden is. I'm going to attribute it to Harden because, like, the thing with Harden that's awesome, and he was really. I'll say this actually. Two things. One, H. Patton pointed this out, like, because I thought, hey, he just looks like he has extra burst, but Patton was like, yo, it's probably because Embiid's getting a little more attention, and they can't just like press Harden as much as they had been, and it was probably more so that, but Harden looked like he had burst tonight, but he also like is this calming presence for everybody, and kind of just like he should coach the team, man. Like honestly, that's how I feel. And look, they were firing on all cylinders. And to your point about starting slow, like the Heat, they started really slow. They only had 17 points in the first quarter. Then another 17-point quarter. 34-point half is like. The fact that this was at one point, I think like a 4 or 5 point game, I was like, man, are you kidding me? Like we're gonna.
They tied it. Like at one point,
I blacked out of.
I was gonna say they never took the lead, but they did tie it at one point in the third quarter. But I just kind of building off of your Harden point, like Harden, I think the way you put it was perfect. He gives this calming presence. He makes everyone's
he's like the adult in the room.
Yes, exactly.
We used to have Jimmy, but now we have James.
He's evolved, like the Brett Brown trajectory, the evolution of James. But it felt like even when the Heat got back into the game, that like of course you have your nervous fan thoughts. Like the Heat are keeping like the Sixers couldn't pull away. Every time they had a chance to pull away, it felt like they couldn't. I was getting really frustrated. Like, and I joke like. Tobias has never hit a momentum three in his entire life. Like even this new version of Tobias, who has been like literally a top 5 jump shooter in the playoffs in terms of efficiency, field goal rating, and he is never going to hit that three. It's just not in his arsenal. Danny Green, he hit plenty of momentum threes tonight. He honestly,
the 7 for 9. I didn't. I'm just looking at the box now because I don't have as much and. It did feel like he made 7 for 9. Like he was. Yeah. I looked up. I'm like, he's our leading scorer, and I'm not that mad about it. Like he's just nailing like everything. He made all the threes he missed in the first, and that everyone missed, to be honest, in the first 2 games. And I guess as a team, they shot pretty well, 48%. Like that's going to get it done on most nights. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it's like when they're shooting like that, and Harden's getting people open looks, like. He's always getting people open looks.
Right.
It's Miami value.
Miami's strategy is we're going to lock down the paint. They're like, we're not letting Joel get anything. We're not letting Harden get anything in the restricted area. That is what they've determined. They've determined we will let the shooters beat us. And on nights like this, where they actually have a good shooting night, they're going to look like the better team because Miami's strategy is just that. And then on the other end, once again, when Bam Adebayo isn't shooting 90% on DeAndre Jordan, which he was going into tonight,
right?
Like it seriously kneecaps. And this is one of the things I talked about before the series, which was that the shot creation in the half court for the Miami Heat is not going to be great because you need Tyler Hero to shoot the way that he has shot in the first 3 games. And defensively, while I think he's been pretty fine the first few games, actually, from a defensive standpoint, like he's not been like a total,
negative,
pushover. Just like he hasn't been like he's been fine on that end. And because of that, it's allowed him to stay on the court more. And Miami desperately needs him because really it's like, Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler are their main 2 offensive initiators. And those 2 are just so, even though Jimmy scored like 30 something tonight, like it just feels like, but it still feels like outside of that one stretch where Jimmy couldn't miss, Lowry and Jimmy, Lowry, who scored 0 points tonight, are always looking to make plays for other guys, which is fine.
That's when they're at their best. They don't really have anyone else to make plays for, to your point, other than Hero.
Yeah.
And it could be Bam, but not when Embiid's in the game. And
exactly,
honestly, man, Paul Reed, hats off to him. 12 plus 12. And I'll tell you what, the crowd, it was hilarious. The crowd is like right where I feel. Sometimes I feel like you and I are in like this completely unhinged like little silo. But like when I go to when I'm in a part of a crowd like I was tonight, like Doc Rivers drew some boos before, like in the pregame announcements.
Wait, did Danny Green actually get boos in the pregame?
No.
Okay,
because not
said that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're like, it depends on where you are and who's near you and what they're doing. But like there was enough for Doc. But like as soon as Paul Reed got up, people cheered. Like it was an awesome crowd. And I mean, look, the cherry on top moment was that Maxey chase down, steal, save, throws it over his head to Harden, gets it to Embiid for an and one, and he makes the and one. Like there's so many, I feel like he's so good at drawing the foul and not getting the and one to go. But that was just like, if you had to capture one moment, like to really, that was like a 5-point swing too. Cause like they make a layup, so anyway, but like the crowd brought it tonight. And honestly, the crowd had been bringing it in the Raptors series too. Like we were like begging them for life in that game they didn't show up for, game 5.
Yeah.
Whereas like, what the hell? And like anything was like, please make a shot. And they just, or try or whatever. And tonight, like everyone brought it. And that's the kind of stuff, like when I'm a season ticket holder, I'm like, this is what it's about. Like Maxey flourishing. Like he had a goose egg first half.
That was important though. This is what I like about Maxey is that like I'm getting texts from people. I'm seeing tweets about him. I'm getting DMs. Oh, I'm worried about Maxey. I'm never worried about Maxey. It really is. And I don't want to harp too much on the Ben Simmons stuff because, it's unfair. It's unfair to compare him. Ben's on another team now, but like when Ben would have a night like Maxey had through the first half, your standard for that guy is he's giving you nothing.
Right. He'll take himself out of the game. Like he'll just
offensively, he's just nothing.
Well, he'll just kind of shut down Tyrese Maxey to his credit. And I mean, what else could you ask for in someone to root for? He's young, but he seems wise beyond his years whenever he talks about teammates. He's always like the first to credit like Furkan Korkmaz or someone like after he has
loves Paul Reed
game himself. Yeah, loves Paul Reed. He loves everybody. I love your live, laugh, love Jimmy Butler because that's exactly it. But I mean, for me, he's like somewhere between now, like Tony Parker and young John Wall. And I don't know, he's putting that like unassisted 3 Dame Lillard type step back now. But his energy and to your point, his memory is just like, it's like a goldfish. And it's exactly what you need tonight was a perfect example. You put up a goose egg and you respond by just blowing the doors off in the second half on both ends, chase down. And look, like he's get beat on defense from time to time. Like he's not,
but it's really not due to anything besides his physical tools. Like, he occasionally will make a lapse on like a rotation. Exactly. But like he's trying to chase Max Strus around screens. It's just like Max Strus is 6'7" and Tyrese Maxey's 6'1". Like what can you do?
But, I mean, he played incredibly tonight and 5 of 6 from 3. Yeah, that's how it felt. Like every time.
Oh wow, I didn't realize it was 5 for 6. Yeah.
Yeah, the people who were missing are now making. Yang, he was only 1 for 3, but like in 9 minutes.
At least he made 1.
Yeah, I mean, if he's got to make if he's going to be out there.
Yeah, that's the problem with him is that if he's not making, he's a complete liability. But the last 2 games, he hasn't played as much as you would need him to play. I think that he fouled out last game, but and also I do think that like I've personally thought that Niang and Thibault would struggle in this series, which is why it was good to see Thibault at least do some things positive defensively. Offensively, He's just going to be a 0-0. You just got to survive those minutes.
I kind of like playing him with Embiid and Harden in the sense that he's easier to hide there, and you do need him in the rotation. And he'll have like a highlight closeout or like a steal here and there. But to your point, like, I mean, he was our only negative player tonight in a 20-point win. Like that, and he was -7. Like it speaks for in 20 minutes too. Like it speaks for himself. We won by 20 in those other whatever. I can't do math. 28 minutes. That's pretty amazing for him to be, or won by 27, I should say. Yeah, that speaks for what he is. I like seeing Shake get back into the rotation because I think we need his ball handling, and the reason is Harden, like, sometimes he kind of gets a little too into his own, like, I'm going to dribble 8 times, I'm going to do the little crossover, and then I'm going to take a step back 3, or I'm going to drive and someone's going to strip me. Or tonight he was getting by people, which was awesome. But, like, it's nice to just have a different ball handler because Harden's kind of like he's almost like a change-up pitcher in terms of his pace. So, like, especially when you pair him with Maxey, and Maxey's, like, out of a cannon, it's, like, tough for a defender to navigate that. But Shake's like a nice happy medium and can just be competent. Like, he could just be competent. Like, he used to suck at entry passes, but he's gotten a little better. At least if you're going to do that little, like, dribble handoff stuff around the perimeter, he can do that competently.
Yeah, he's an irrational confidence guy too, which we love. Like, when he came in and he shot 3 times in like 30 seconds at the end of the first half, he was like, I'm keeping my spot in this fucking rotation. I'm going to make the most of this opportunity. I don't even think he really had that much of a major impact on the game, but, like, once again, if he's a willing shooter who can capably handle the ball and he's not totally terrible on defense, then he should be in the rotation. Like, he should be in the rotation over Korkmaz just based on merit. Just based on merit. Like, I know Korkmaz in theory, like, can do some of the same stuff, but, like, if you're doing it based on who has played better since we got James Harden, Shake Milton is undeniably the answer over Furkan Korkmaz there.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like Korkmaz only saw time because Niang was so bad that Doc was like, well, let's just try any other shooter. And he has a quick trigger.
Put in the other white guy. Maybe Niang isn't from Europe, and Furkan is. I don't know. Like,
they got like a similar hairstyle going on. They got quick triggers. They think they're better than they are. That type of thing.
Absolutely. Niang will fight you though. Furkan will not fight you. He almost fought PJ Tucker.
I loved that. And also, look, Heat culture. What Heat culture is, it's these slide charges that are like need to get out of the game. Like if the NBA is going to say that you got to let someone land when they shoot, then this type of stuff where people slide under in midair, like that's a dangerous play. It's it's bad for both parties. So I don't like that. And then I mean, slapping cheap shots, flops. There's a lot of flopping tonight on Miami's side, which look, we are the grift and grind, like. But they flop a lot, and Tucker, like, I'm glad at least it's Niang that he's going to get into it with, and not like go Joel into something stupid or it's someone more useful than Niang. Like, it's not the end of the world if Niang gets tossed. Also, as long as we're talking about abolishing things, and I'm on my soapbox, the double technical, let's get rid of that.
It's so
Make
dumb.
a choice. Just like live
Don't
with
be a coward.
Yeah, don't be a cat. I hate it. It's like, great.
Especially with like one tonight, Tucker initiated and like, look, I'm all for
the next possession. He did a jackass thing too.
Yeah, and I'm all for like having guys on your team like PJ Tucker, and like I'm all for when the Sixers get a technical and it's rightfully on them, whether they're bitching at the refs or they're doing something that like is legitimately a technical foul. I'm all for that. But like PJ Tucker like was like trying to harm Thibault, was like shoving him, and the refs then called the double technical because he talked back to him afterwards. Like, what? Right. I don't even understand what that was.
And then out of that, I believe it was a jump ball.
Yep. And then we lost, and then they scored on.
That seemed wrong to me, though. I was like, we kind of had possession. I don't know what like the true rule is, if that just like resets the time that is the game, and it's a flat circle of bullshit. But like, I don't know. These are the things that drive you nuts. But like, general energy. There's some. I'm trying to tell you. So something that was hilarious tonight. My C partner RJ. So whenever someone shoots free throws, you're always just trying to make them miss, yell, scream, anything. His voice cracks when Bam Adebayo is shooting one and it bricks, and like our whole section like laughed. And it was like a one of those nights thing. It was kind of felt like Danny Green's like bouncy three. It was like, God. Oh, that's happening. We're winning this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, JJ said on the broadcast, he was like, I don't want to tell you what that reminds me of, but it was one of the worst moments of my career. And I was like, you really had to bring up the fucking Kawhi shot in the middle of
talk about like his Uber ride or like his Happy New Year
on the court. Yeah. So during the broadcast, JJ was great on the broadcast, but
I believe it. He like begrudgingly, because I did not enjoy him as I have the same vibes with him that I have with Niang, where it's like you got to shoot 50% from three, or you may as well be like working the bar. Like please don't. I have this. This is another thing I wanted to bring up in terms of vibes. I caught a t-shirt.
Nice.
Which I had not caught one all season. So plus 20 and a shirt. I think I need to be at every game going
I think so too. Yes.
So, but
will you be there on Sunday? Because if you're not, then okay, good. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We need your vibe.
I am my wife is pregnant and we're due at the end of June. So we're gonna celebrate Mother's Day. I have one kid. But the 8 p.m., I was like, oh, they know. Like, they knew not to screw with Mother's Day at all. Like,
all day.
Everyone, like, we're hanging out with my parents. It's going to be, like, but everything's going to be done early in the day. And then it's funny. I was talking to my buddy RJ tonight, and I'm like, well, who should drive? Should we keep the same driver? Should we, I get really superstitious with this stuff.
Of course. Absolutely. When you're in the playoffs?
This jersey hasn't lost. I'm going to wear it again. Like, that type of stuff. Look, everything every fan does matters. I'm a full believer in that. Not like, and I'm not really superstitious about anything else, but this is like where I get a little unhinged, where I'm like, yeah, like if you say Nick Foles is going to win Super Bowl MVP, he's going to win Super Bowl MVP. If you just say it enough, if you don't get up from your chair and like the Phillies are getting 3 hits in a row, like that type of stuff matters.
It does. It does. That's why I'm wearing the same hoodie that I wore during the. I'm telling you, I didn't wear it the first 2 games. I decided to put it on, and now it will be the hoodie that I wear during Sixers games. That is the new rule.
It's a good one.
I just like kind of back to the Harden stuff because
he was awesome. It was plus 27.
Like, that's what I was going to say, because I know that he had the turnovers. A lot of it was like you described it as like a game manager. I heard some people saying that, and it's like, to me, it's like if the defense, it's a boomer bust thing with him right now, where it's like if the defense is going to sell out to stop his drives and stop the Harden Joel pick and roll, which is not a bad strategy. It's extremely effective as a play. Then if that does happen, then in reality, what is going to happen is Harden's going to he's going to have 6 or 7 turnovers. Sometimes he's going to have a lot of turnovers. You got to limit the run out opportunities on those. I think they've been focused on getting back. They haven't been,
bailed out for it. Yeah.
Good.
I mean, they give up the rebounds that way, but
of course, fine. But they're stopping it on the other
end. They're not rebounding anyway.
Dude, what would how many second chance points did Miami get tonight? Because I just want to say, Miami shot like shit. They weren't getting good shots. They weren't really, I don't understand. They somehow got to the line more than us tonight, which is crazy.
We were tied and we had more fast break points, which is great.
Yes.
I don't see second chance points.
I don't see second chance points either, but
here's something weird. We had 19 turnovers and a 20-point win.
So here's the thing. We shot the lights out. Yeah. So that was massively helpful, for sure.
That still is the most important thing.
Yeah. Joel was back, so defensively we looked way, way better defensively.
Right, no easy buckets.
No easy buckets in the paint. There was and except for that one Jimmy stretch, it didn't really feel like there was anyone on their team that had the ability. He was keeping them in the game down the stretch.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it honestly felt like the defense was so good that outside of it was really the offensive rebounding that kept Miami even relatively in the game. Because the first quarter it was Joel's stretch, it was fine. During Joel's stretches it felt fine. And kind of going back to the Harden thing, like anytime Harden was out of the game, I was like, fuck, we have no offense right now.
Who's driving?
Yeah, exactly. We have no drive and kick. We have no strategy. It's basically just dance around on the perimeter, Tobias and Maxey trying to initiate, and neither of them being able to get into the paint to collapse the defense. And if we can't get Joel the ball because he's being fucking triple teamed or he's being double teamed before he even gets the ball, then it's going to create a lot of issues for our offense. But
that is the value of Harden, and that is why he's here. To your point, it's like no one else in our entire other iterations of this Embiid Sixers team could like just control a reliable half-court offense. And I mean, we likened him to a quarterback. His safety valve, like security blanket tight end play is the step back three. It's like he's like, all right, and whatever, which is not the worst offense in the world. It's annoying when you see it like 10 times in a row, but like
you feel like you know when it's going in there or not too. Doesn't it feel like when Harden's forcing the step back three and he misses 3 in a row, you know that third one's never going in.
Right. Yeah. It rides the emotional wave quite well.
Yes.
But I mean, he's the only player. It's weird. It's like I'd have to go back to like Andre Miller or someone like who I'm like, oh, this is someone who just is a field general half court.
Right.
And no, we just haven't had that type of player, and it pays dividends in these tight playoff moments where things might be getting away from you. You just kind of need a bucket or need to reset, even just getting good looks. And he still draws enough attention. Like I'm wondering if Spoelstra is going to not like press him as much.
I think so.
Embiid's back.
I think the 2 adjustments would be don't worry about Harden as much because Harden outside of the restricted area, like the only thing you have to worry about is the step back 3, and then possibly staying at home on shooters and not helping as much. But like
he doesn't really take those catch and shoots. Like it's
he did once tonight. He did once. He made it. Yeah, he did. I don't understand how his brain is. He's just so used to being on ball that his brain is wired that he has to take the tougher shot.
I don't want to be Mr. like armchair diagnosis. There's definitely like an OCD trend with him because it's like I have to dribble and then I shoot. Like I do he's so like particular and patterned with what he does that I'm always amazed that like he's as successful because he hasn't been here that long. And I feel like there is a predictable element to his game.
Absolutely.
That coaches should be able to exploit. And it's impressive that he can still, even, with not the same athleticism when he was an MVP candidate, still, get to his spots enough. But it's also, people do exploit it. Like they strip him on drives a lot now. That feels like a gamble. So that's why he can't be everything. He can be a lot.
Yeah.
But it's actually what's really nice about him and Joel because, Joel like can be the best player on a title team, I believe, but he can't be like your primary like offensive engine. He can be everything else, but not your engine. So Harden maybe also can't be the best player on a title team at this point, certainly, but they complement very well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And in a way I didn't expect, I think.
You need Harden's offense for exactly what we're discussing right now, which is later game situations when you're going through droughts and you need to just generate good looks. Yeah. It's like there's a reason why, like, even though Tobias and Maxey were crushing it in the last game, that Miami was willing to give them that because they're like, look, you're going to score. You're going to get your little floaters, you're going to hit whatever, but you're not going to create efficient enough looks for everyone and for yourself. And it's not going to be enough. The math is just not going to be on your side because you're not going to take a ton of pull-up threes that you're going to be able to convert on. You're not going to be able to get to the line. You
can't live and die on Tobias mid-range post-up game.
Exactly. You can live
on, it's great, but it's going to die at some point.
Exactly. And it did tonight. And honestly, we didn't need it as much because the defense was so great and because Miami couldn't hit a shot and because other people were hitting their shots on our end, but it does feel as though like offensively, Joel needs someone to be kind of that pressure game manager, release valve type guy you were talking about. And then defensively, Harden needs to have someone like Embiid to just kind of back him up, because Harden, if we're running drop, like it's going to be tough. Like I think that would be the main strategy is whoever, like they'll try to hide Harden on defense. And to this point, it's worked pretty well. He fouled a lot tonight, but overall, I feel like defensively, he's not getting absolutely torched on that end. Miami doesn't really have like the creators or the guys to really take advantage of his like lack of just like mobility and shit like that on that end. And just kind of on top of that, it's like ideally you would switch with James Harden and you would just switch everything. But with Joel, you want to run drop, and like it's possible it could eventually catch up to them and that they could target him. I think that would be what they'll probably try to do in the next game is like just go at Harden, because even if you're not scoring every possession,
foul trouble tonight.
Exactly. Yeah. Just continue to go at him, make him tired on the other end too, because him and Joel. I mean, first off, hats off to Joel for playing fucking.
What heart? I mean, honestly, that is the heart that, and maybe that like was the high I was riding like basically all night ever since we knew he was going to play. Like here, I have this stupid. I feel like I'm doing show and tell over here. I have this can from last time he wore. This is a can Colony Meadery. They made this Joel and Mead, but they did like a whole can art. I'm like, I'm saving this because the mask thing's never going to happen again. And here we are. 4 years later, whatever it is, and it's happened again. The man put the mask on just in time for Batman. So, if you want to really put on your tinfoil hat, but everything feeds off of that heart. Like he's playing through pain. We haven't heard much of him as fans, but like the players know like where he's at. If he's in pain, he's visibly annoyed with the mask. I knew he was going to be toying with it all game. He was looking for kudos to the towel like staff, like the people on both ends.
They were throwing him. I saw that.
Women they were just ready. And honestly, that might be like a minor edge when they go back to Miami. That just to have like staff that's like, no towel for you, or like. So I'm really curious about like, because if there's anything that's Heat culture, Pat Riley bullshit, it's like that. Like he thinks he's Red Auerbach, but not really.
Like you can't fucking have your towel people on the baseline ready to throw Joel a towel when he needs to wipe off the sweat because of the mask.
Yeah, he was like, he was looking for it. It's and some of the shots he had tonight, like I was like, can he see? Like I don't know.
It was definitely tough.
So and to that. I want him to get deep in the post, but he also has like a broken face. So like, I kind of get why he's reluctant, but even just to suit up and play and not be a traffic cone, like good for him and good for everyone else rallying around him. Like Maxey, Harden, Harris, and Green all had awesome nights in their own way.
Yeah.
And that's what like a team looks like. And my like mega optimism is okay. The Raptors like tuned this team up, kind of challenge them and said like, you're not just going to coast off these two guys who are awesome. They had to dig, and they did, and they won Game 6. And this adversity of the orbital fracture, it kind of says if Joel's going to go out there and say, I'm going to come out here with a broken face and do my best, it's going to hopefully inspire everyone else like it did tonight, and maybe like be the catalyst that kind of brings this group together, because it's a new group,
Yeah, absolutely.
Harden here. And if they can build on that, that's huge. Now, I'd imagine, Embiid's going to be wearing a mask the rest of the playoffs, so this might run out of gas if they gut out this Heat series. But it's a totally different, like my expectations for this season have totally swung, where it's like, I honestly feel like we'd sweep the Heat with Embiid. Like they're just not, to your point, their offense isn't there in the half court. The math's on our side. And like, look, the math's been on James Harden's side before and he's lost. So like we've seen this, that, them go, that Rockets team that missed like 35 threes or whatever the hell happened to them. But like
I mean, it felt like that in the first two games too.
It really did. I was like, oh man, like he can't catch a break. Like he's generating open looks and that. But I still believe like the strategy's right on offense. And I don't want to give Doc too much credit because anyone who gives a quote like we're going to keep playing this guy and whether you like it or not is like a complete jackass.
Of course.
But like for whatever reason, and also to that point, if he really believed in DeAndre Jordan, he would have seen some minutes tonight, and he didn't. So to pretend that this guy who's tall is gonna like just be a 1-for-1 swap for a guy
I think he realized
might win MVP according to.
I think he realized in the middle of game 2. I think he realized, and he said to himself, "What the fuck am I doing here?" Because they went small more in the second half. They played Paul Reed more in the second half, and I just want to say, kind of going back to the Joel thing, to play 36 minutes.
Yeah, big minutes.
36 minutes after having done. They said on the broadcast he's been able to do nothing for a week because of the concussion protocol. Like, so not even like
that's secretly the bigger injury this week.
Right, because like obviously physically, like playing with a broken face and a thumb, like
I don't know what that feels like.
I mean, it's got to be fucking impossibly hard to play through these injuries, and credit to him. But I just want to say, after a week of not playing, play 36 of 48 minutes in this game, and he pulled himself out basically at the end of the third because he was so gassed, and then to come back in the fourth quarter, like. He obviously didn't play a Joel Embiid game because he wasn't 100%, but he showed like he wanted to be there for like the other guys. Like you said, he saw how bad they looked in the first two games and said, obviously some of that was shooting shit, but some of it was just like they didn't have the talent to kind of keep up with this Miami team.
Right.
And he knows that the margin for error now is incredibly thin, which is why like you said, like I think they would sweep the Heat. Like, I mean, I don't know if I would go that far, but I think that if Joel had played from the beginning of the series, Sixers and 6. Okay,
right.
All right, I love it. But
that's right.
But like, I think that even if the Sixers lose this series, even if Miami win, like, because like realistically, Miami wins one more, and you're kind of fucked. Like, it's like,
oh yeah,
you have to win 4
must win.
Yeah. Like every game's must win from now on. Basically, you can lose.
You hope to steal 5, right?
Yeah,
like it's like all the odds are. It's an uphill battle.
So it is tough, but to come out tonight and to get the win, obviously it's easy to say because you go down 3-0. No one's ever come back from being down 3-0, right. But it felt as though. Because of the way that Joel played, because of the way that like he gutted it out, and because of the fact that like he said in the pregame, like he said to someone, he feels like they can win the title this year, and like even if they don't win, that's think
the attitude though. That's the
exactly.
Attitude. You're right. I mean, that's what he has.
Instills a ton of confidence in everyone. Like, and then people want to play with you.
I want to take a step back too because I think like our fandom. Like I know from like I've been a Sixers fan my whole life, but like I bought my season tickets during the 10-win season, so it was like the nadir of the process. And to watch, here's actually I keep doing this fucking show and tell. Here's a cup from look at that Embiid. Look at this, look how skinny he is.
Yeah,
like that's an unrecognizable kid who we thought would never play.
Yeah,
I happened to be at his first game. And I was like, wow, this guy, he might be good. He might be really good.
Maybe.
And to watch him just ascend and fight through nonsense, go through another round of masks. I mean, he said it like, oh, my life's a movie type thing. Like, I want him to have that storybook ending so much, like more than any other athlete that I've rooted for. And like, it is really cool to see like to hear him have that attitude now at this age. And you want it for him. It's a different thing than like, I feel like basketball so often we can be like, oh, like, it's just like, let's move these parts around and hopefully this iteration of like these 5 guys might work. And it can be a little impersonal, but like with him being here from draft to overcoming each kind of step, like it is like you build a bond, and he's really bonded with the city. And this tonight, like you felt it in the crowd, like someone puts their own health on the line. Like, and it's, I'm not like, I don't want to like just kind of gloss over that, like Grady's back. Like it is like a big deal. Like a lot of players would shut down and not do this, but to your point, like he said, I didn't know that he said that I feel like we can win the title. That's awesome to hear, but it tracks with kind of what we've seen from him as he's matured. And like, that's like the thing, man. Like, I know for me, like I mentioned, I have a kid who's a year and a half and I'm about to have another son. And I'm like, well, when Tyrese Maxey's 31, I hope they have matching Maxey jerseys, because like this kid is going to be a gem. Like it was fun. My seat partner RJ was saying tonight, like, hey, like, oh, like this pick we gave up, it might haunt us in like 4 years. I'm like, not with Maxey on the team, not with how good he is now. Yeah. And like, what if we screw it up and get rid of him or something, whatever, that's on us. But like,
I actually have said, it's kind of talking about exactly what you're talking about right now, which is like the basketball karma, there's more to sports than just wins and losses. There's more to sports than just winning titles. It's like, I don't think the Sixers should ever trade Joel Embiid or Tyrese Maxey unless Joel Embiid wants a trade and it's better for whatever. But I don't think they should trade them just because they make basketball fun. They make things they make it worth it to be a fan. Like tonight when Maxey hit that 3 to extend the lead, like that was like nirvana. Like that was what you lived for. Or when Embiid got the and one on Bam and like stumbled into him and then made the shot and like that kind of close, like those kind of moments, these kind of moments that we've had, like, they're fleeting, but like when you do have these moments, like it does remind you that there is more to this shit than just like
and it's
guys playing a game.
It's the stuff that like you probably don't appreciate in the moment, and I always try to be mindful of that, because like you and I grew up watching Allen Iverson as children. And those moments in time get crystallized. You're like, oh, the step over, and like just gutting it out in playoff series and like 40-point nights, like night after night in the regular season, and just playing really hard. And you gotta appreciate, like, we have players like, not like we have those stories now. And we'll remember them in 10 years, and we'll be like, remember when Maxey like played his ass off at 21? We're like, oh, we have the guy. Or like, remember when we thought Embiid would never play? Like that stuff is like, it's important to appreciate, to your point, beyond wins and losses, because one team wins every year, and like that's why I want the MVP. All these fake rumors. I think, I guess, it seemed like Jokic had like the voter math. I
don't really know what's going on.
I don't know, just do fake pushes for Embiid, like secretly winning the MVP. Look,
several journalists have said it. There was a typo, or I'm sorry, there was like a grammatical mistake. They said instead of saying MVP finalist, it was MVP winner.
Right.
MVP,
That's a big issue. It's a big typo.
I mean, Chiodo said we still are skeptical of all of it, because it did feel as though, of course, the math was in Jokic's. Ironically, Jokic had math on his side, but
he's a paper champ. He loves it.
So, but the thing about all the votes that were coming out about like everything we saw on Twitter and stuff, Chiodo was like, the only way this is true is if all the boomers who are like older that aren't on social media. Seriously though, like all the boomers. But it's going to be like Bob Ryan. I don't think Bob Ryan has a vote or anything. But like,
what the comp here is like the Twitter echo chamber, the unexpected result. It's a bad one. It's a bad comp.
What?
It's going to be like it's going to be like an upset election or something like that.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
It's not the comp I wanted to go to. But sadly, but to your point, I mean,
we'll get Jokic people saying stop the steal.
I don't know. By the way, I loved your start the steal.
we gotta start this. Well, we didn't steal either. So luckily,
we kind of should have, but we didn't. That's again why I feel like we have a real chance. Like I get the odds and the history of what is it like teams that go up 2-0 win like 90% of the time or 85% of the time or something. But like
it's a little unique here.
Yeah, you go a game at a time. Whatever. Like that's all you can do. What's in front of you. I really do feel like after what I saw tonight, they didn't fold. To Paul Reed's credit, like I thought I was like, here's a young guy saying a thing. With we're just gonna make them fold. Maybe they can. I really do, because like this Heat, they don't seem to have, like, on some nights they might have, like Jimmy Butler, you would say is maybe their best player, or Bam on any given night, or Hero.
I think Jimmy's their best.
Yeah, Jimmy's their best, but like on a given night he might be like the fourth best player.
True.
Like 3 Sixers can be better than him easy. And so it's like that's a big deal too. And we're not, and I get Embiid's injured. Everyone's injured too. Like I'm just looking around the league. Like I was thinking about that today.
Everyone in this series, Jimmy's injured, Lowry's injured, Embiid's injured. Right, like no one's healthy.
Like Marcus Smart's out.
Yep.
In the Celtics series. Middleton. Yeah, I'm like, like the Bucks would win in a walk with Middleton, right? And then, they're missing Marcus Smart. It's like everyone's banged up except maybe the Suns, at least with their key personnel. And I don't know. This year feels very wide open, and it's kind of nice. I think everyone kind of smells that like collective, like I don't want to say like blood in the water, but it's like, hey, we can grab it. Like it's not like there's a like death lineup Warriors that like, oh great, it's going to be them again, or it's not peak LeBron anymore. Like he's at home like us,
absolutely. It felt like there was a stretch where it was either LeBron or the Warriors, and that was it. It was like, and now
the truth.
Yeah, exactly. And like, maybe the Bucks got a little bit unlucky with the Middleton injury and stuff. And like,
you're right. Yeah, I think a healthy Bucks. Giannis really, after last year's finals, I feel like it's his league.
For sure. I mean, he's the best player.
He put up 50 in Game 6. Yeah. Like
he's the best player. Don't get me wrong. He's the best player. But once again, something that Chioda said last time or 2 times ago he was on the podcast, he was like, look, like, Giannis is amazing. He's probably the best two-way player. He's definitely the best two-way player in the league. Like he's unbelievable. But this idea that we're in the Giannis era is just like, it's not true until he proves it, kind of thing. Where it's like,
I mean, you're right. I mean, you could. There's a lot of players. That's why it's so hard. Like in theory, he's on that LeBron trajectory.
For sure.
But that does not mean you will traject. Like that does not mean you will follow that arc.
I mean, like, honestly, he was great in game 1 of the Celtics-Bucks series, and he struggled in game 2. And, like, he kind of figured some things out in the second half. But, like, ultimately, I do think that if he is your number one guy and the defense like the Celtics, because I actually was joking, we were joking about this earlier, which was, I was like, that Adam Silver is sitting there watching this Miami Heat offense going, fuck, could you imagine this? They just put up 79 points, and I know they had a bad shooting night, but like they put up 79 points against the Sixers defense, who is like the 11th best defense in the NBA. Imagine this against the Bucks or the Celtics defense, who have two legitimately elite defenses.
We might get. I love the NBA refs account because it's given me minor comfort as of late. There was the I forget who we had for game 6, but it was like against the Raptors, but their record in like not forcing a game 7, it was like 23-1 or something.
Yeah.
By the way, the fact that there's a Twitter account that can just track like egregiously lopsided, it's not even like it's like 60-40 or 70-30. It's like 95-5, like in terms of percentage breakdown.
Yeah.
Tonight it was
it was 10.
It was Kennedy.
Yeah,
the Sixers haven't lost the last 12 home games with him.
Yeah,
and I'm like, like we should probably win. Now I don't think we won because of the officials tonight.
No, we shot less free throws than the Heat. It's not even, But
this type of stuff, like being out there, I to if you want to put on the conspiracy hat, it might be a better narrative and whatever for the Sixers to move on here. It's an uphill battle, though. I mean, they're already down in the series. They gotta at least get it to even, and that's I don't want to take it for granted.
Next game is extremely important still. Like tonight was a must win. Next one's a must win. And then from game 5, then it's a 3-game series. Like then it's like you can afford to slip up one time and you're still in it. Like I think that we know that the Sixers came in with they were fucking locked in tonight, even though at times they look like the Sixers because they always do. But they were locked in from an effort standpoint. They were locked in from just like communication standpoint. Like next game's incredibly important, and I feel as though they win that, they probably win the series. Like I think if they win the next game convincingly, it's trending in the right direction. Which is
and I mean what we saw tonight. They shot better from 3 and they won, and that's. To me, again, like if you just want to oversimplify everything, like and even forget about who's playing, like that's been the story of who's won. It's just who's shooting better from 3. But it's our looks have been consistently better, even without Embiid. So that to me, just like I think we're the better team. It's a matter of that bearing out in 7 games, and it should. But we kind of got 2 games cut short because of I think we were just on the short end of the variance in game 1. And Embiid being hurt, like it's just we're just giving now Bam Adebayo isn't scoring everything at the rim, and so not everyone else. But like
we had the worst player in the playoffs.
It's hard. I guess I'll say this: the NBA 7-game series. It's one of my favorite like sports setups because like the NFL 1 game is awesome and super exciting, but like I feel like the best team almost always wins in a series in the NBA. Yep. Where it's actually the reverse, I feel, in baseball, because you know who the best team is. You just played 162 games that aren't going to vary much. So, like, if a pitcher or a hitter gets hot for 3 games, all of a sudden that really makes a huge impact. Or a goalie gets hot in hockey. I can't analyze hockey because I don't. Despite going to Boston College, watch a lot of college hockey. I'm about as useless as a hockey watcher. But like in basketball, it's like. The best team almost always wins the 7-game series. I don't even know. I guess the Hawks last year, but you know what, man? Like we folded. Like we're not the better team. We lost 3 home games. Like there's so many, even like the examples.
Unless there's a major injury, generally speaking, yes. I mean, like I think that occasionally, like
I'm holding on to that.
Yeah.
For my hopes with the Sixers team is okay. Embiid's back. We started our usual starters tonight. They're limited in their own way. Embiid has a couple injuries that are they're big deals, but like he's still out there. We should win the series because we're the better team, stacked up. That's what I believe, and it's not because I hate the Heat or anything, or think Kyle Lowry and his 3 butt cheeks are totally washed, but like. It's time. I don't know. I really think we can just sweep this team from now.
Okay.
And I just felt that. Like I'm just like we're just better than these guys. They're not.
No
one's bringing the hammer. Like even Jimmy Butler tonight had a good game, and they lost by 20.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel as though the Spoelstra factor is a big one, and I think that it's possible that like maybe
Doc might start DeAndre Jordan even though Embiid's back because he doesn't. You say it, rhyme or reason. He will. What goes through his head? He finds something that works and then runs in a different direction.
It makes no fucking sense to me. But tonight, he finally, when Embiid sat and they gave up a little bit of a run to the Heat, he put in Paul Reed and the other 4 starters, which I love to see. I would need to see that line up more when Embiid sits.
Because it was great. I was like, good.
It makes a lot more sense. And I feel as though the Spoelstra factor only really matters when you consider that he's going to make those game-to-game adjustments. And if the Heat have a good, you just need one wacky game really now at this point in order for the Heat to kind of seal the series in a way, because it's like we discussed in the last episode, like you just have Sixers have a bad shooting night. Someone gets into foul trouble, like whatever it is, there could be some crazy stuff that happens, and it just keeps the Heat hanging around. And like their margin for error is massive now, and ours is very thin. Right. And I do just want to, I want to say that one of the things that I heard people talk about, which was like, like this game specifically kind of proved, and like, look, the Heat could still win the series because the Sixers went down 0-2. It has nothing to do with the fact whether the better team or not.
You're right. Yes.
But the depth thing to me is like, depth is important. I'm not saying depth is not important, but like the Heat had Cody Martin and Duncan Robinson both on the bench, not playing meaningful minutes at all tonight. And they would both be in the Sixers, or Caleb Martin and Duncan Robinson, and they would both be in the Sixers rotation, and they just weren't playing for them, which is why when people talk about depth not mattering as much in the playoffs, it's like your 8th and 9th and 10th man, while would be in our rotation. Like they are better than any bench players that we have. And they literally did not play at all. And that's why having a top heavy roster when your guys are healthy and playing is incredibly important for the playoffs.
Depth is a hedge against injury. And that's true. That's true in basically every sport, particularly the NFL. I feel like it really rears its head every year because there's just so many injuries. But like, to your point, I was going to ask you, like, do you think Duncan Robinson sees the floor at all in the series? Because he hasn't. He didn't even play.
I would imagine. But I think he will play. I think that next game,
bad shooting night, like you'd think maybe let's see if the Sixers actually do hunt him or not.
Right. Like, well, I guess the question
is, they started to hunt Hero a little more tonight, which was nice to see. They should have been doing it more, but Harden did, and I think he had the space to do it because of Joel being back. But so they gotta hunt.
My question, I guess, would be is. Like, I think Max Strus played pretty well tonight. That's the thing is, like, who is he replacing in the rotation? Is he replacing Oladipo? Because Oladipo had a great game last game. Didn't look great tonight. Although defensively, he's looked pretty good. And I do think that they might just it really just depends to me. Like, I think Duncan Robinson, I don't know if it's next game or like if they lose next game, Duncan Robinson's playing in game 5. Like, Spoelstra will just start
to try to shake it up. They gotta shake it up. Like the same way, like Doc went to Furkan because Niang was in. It's like you just got to do something.
You got to shake it up a little bit. So I do think that at some point we will see him. I think that, like, I don't know, like it's hard to say because it's like what he brings you offensively. Like that 2-man game that he has with Bam is great, but like Strus can do pretty much the same. And Duncan Robinson's a little bit better working off of movement. Like he can hit some insane JJ Redick level shots off of screens and stuff. Strus is a little bit more of a catch and shoot guy. He does have some movement shooting ability, but Robinson's definitely more lethal off of that. But like Strus is also a pretty good defender. And like, are you gonna like give in some of that defense, especially when your whole strategy has been walling off the paint and making sure like you've kind of doubled down on being a defensive team and not having a weak link defensively in your rotation?
So that's the question. That's actually a really interesting question because the Sixers, their strength is their offense. But if you're gonna pack the floor with good defenders and live with bad offense because you think you can limit the Sixers enough, that still might be their best strategy. Like that, if they change, that could, like, I could see it that totally backfiring and like the Sixers have like a 120-point game or something because everything's up firing on all cylinders. The pick and roll's back, the Maxey's flying off the wing, like all the things that we saw like in Game 6 against the Raptors, or just in general. And again, like our looks are still pretty good. So what they're doing might still be their best strategy. It just might be, hey, we just got to hope that, the Sixers shoot bad from 3. And they might. Like, it's not that these are.
Or even just don't shoot the fucking lights out. Like, they shot like 48% from 3 tonight.
They did great. But I mean, like the Heat, they shot about that last game.
Yeah, true.
So, and like, really, it's funny. Maxey's like, he's like he was the 3rd best by percentage in the league this year. So I would say like I still feel like every Danny Green quarter three is like gonna go in. I don't know why. Like, I mean, people hate on him, and like it's funny. Like people in my section or like people around me, like they'll be like, Danny Green sucks. Like every time he misses, and I'm like, well, when he misses really bad. But just the reliability of a guy standing in the corner and popping, like Seth Curry was at the game tonight. He was chilling in an A's hat. Yeah, he was next to the Allen, the sixth man.
He went back to the locker room too.
I think it's a good move for him because Doc's his father-in-law. Just like pretend like you're still. I mean, look, if the Sixers win a ring, he's gonna get one. He was on the team.
There you go. Yeah,
so it's like just ride that out because. I don't know what's going on in Brooklyn, but I mean, their season's over. And
one more year, Seth, you could come home, be sixth man of the year the next year. We'd love it.
Seth, here's the thing with him, and I'm as much fun as he is when he's on. He shot 60% against the Hawks and was exploited to the point where it wasn't enough. And, there's other reasons we lost that series, but like that to me is like that's like you saw like the best he could play, and it still probably is not good.
I mean, right now our weakest link defensively is Maxey, and the guy gives a lot more effort and has more athleticism and a bigger wingspan, and like theoretically is going to end up being a pretty decent defender. And like,
it makes a difference. You mean the starting lineup?
No, what I'm trying to say is like having a weak link defensively, as we have seen in the playoffs,
it'll get exploited.
A team will eventually exploit it and figure you out. And like, I do think that like, obviously the Sixers don't have the strongest defenders, especially on the perimeter, but I do think that having a lack of like legitimately bad defenders is extremely important in the playoffs.
This is where I go back and forth. You look at someone like Strus or Vincent, and you look at like Isaiah Joe on our team.
Yeah, we talked about this. Yeah, it sucks.
Was that with Avi?
Yeah, we talked about it last week. Also, like, it's so frustrating.
Great guest.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah, but he because I couldn't remember which one. But like Isaiah Joe, I'm still kind of like hoping he somehow sees. He won't at this point. It's pretty obvious Bassie and Joe are just not in
year three though, because like right now he's year 2. He's still 22. Like he's not old.
Springer's still just sitting there.
Yeah, like there are guys. All I'm saying is there are guys on the Sixers bench that if they do hang on to him after this season, like Grant Williams was terrible last year, and now he's playing legitimately good defense on Giannis in the playoffs.
He's turning into like a better PJ Tucker, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's exactly who he's becoming.
Yeah.
And remember when the Tybalt. Look, I'm ready to trade Tybalt yesterday.
For sure, 100%.
I think also this offseason would be the time to trade him because he still has enough like highlight people who don't pay attention really to the basically every national person.
He should go to a team. Wow. Yeah, he should go to a team like the Kings or a team that just wants to have like a defensive guy that like wants to make the play-in. Like he'll never be on a contender. Like he'll just never be a high leverage guy on a contender. He can't play. Like he's shown it even in a night like tonight where he wasn't terrible. He was still not a net positive. And he
was -7 in 20 minutes while making his 2 shots, which I think were just like dunks at the rim.
Little dump-ins, little floaters. Yeah.
But he didn't attempt a 3. I mean, they left him wide open. They don't pay attention to him. It was funny. I remember one of the shots I said to the person next to me. Everyone in my section knows each other. It's actually kind of cool during the playoffs because during the year you're like, oh, they sold their tickets or whatever. I go to maybe half the games during the year, which is probably a lot. But during the playoffs, it's like, oh, everyone I know is here now, and it's a totally different crowd in section 116. But I turned to the person next to me. It was like they gotta at least let Tybalt take a shot because they're leaving him so alone. And the next play was one of those dump offs.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to see him at least jack 3 or 3s tonight just because he's so blatantly open.
Well, yeah, I think the new rule is Danny can't dribble, Thibault can't shoot a three. Those are the new rules that the team has instilled in them.
It's not terrible. I'm okay with it because Danny dribbling leads to disaster.
Always. In transition, there was a 2-man break with Thibault and Danny at one point, and then Danny got caught jumping in the air, trying to pass back and turned it over. Like
there were some embarrassing those 19 turnovers. Like that's a high number, but like
because like Danny made all his shots,
nine of them were like the ball into the stands.
Yeah,
like it was a combination of Embiid basically wearing horse blinders.
Yeah,
and those like bad transition ideas. But yeah, man, I feel good. I feel good about this team.
So you're saying Sixers and 6? Is that your final prediction?
I've been saying it. I've the last like 3 days. Once like I got the inkling Embiid was coming back, and I really believed he was going to play Game 3 if they lost Game 2, and because he's a competitor. I don't know. We just needed basically what he gave tonight. Like we didn't need him to score 30 and be like the guy. And honestly, I don't know if we ever need Joel Embiid to be like the high scorer of this team. What he's good at, what he's like elite at is all the stuff he did tonight: rebounding, defense. And I mean, he's an elite post scorer, but he didn't really get down in the post, probably because of the face. But even when he's healthy, he'll sometimes settle on the perimeter. And he's improved on the perimeter, and he's great at the mid range. But like
he's a fantastic decoy right now.
He is. He's someone that they have to pay attention to because all of his like he's still mobile. Like not that you could pick and choose injuries, and they all suck, and I'm sure he's playing through a lot of pain. But I am glad he still has his legs and can get the spots. And there's a few times he got beat and whatnot. But like I don't know. He is the reason I think we can just win 4 in a row here, because I don't know. The way he's played these last 2 years basically has shown me that he's that type of player. And now we've removed the Ben Simmons of it all, like the complete junking up of your offense. They're just kind of a normal team now, which is bizarre. Like I know it never feels like the Sixers are normal, but like. We have a guy who can control a half-court offense in James Harden. We have a young, promising player that we didn't expect in Tyrese Maxey. It always feels like every team in the league, even the ones that don't make the playoffs, has someone like that, and we do finally. And he's huge. I almost get annoyed when I'm like mad at myself because I'm like, oh yeah, he's like he shouldn't even be close to this good. And I'm like, man, where's Maxey? He's invisible. And then he turns it on because that's who he is. If he's 21, like. I feel like I'm a Jason Tatum's only 19 guy with him.
No, it's true though. It does feel that way. And the joke before the playoffs was that player Cody Martin would be the best 2-way wing on the Sixers. This guy would be the best 2-way wing on the Sixers, and it's like Tobias Harris has been fucking the best 2-way wing by far. I mean, he's been fantastic in defensively. I've been even though. He still has his moments where I'm like, what are you doing? Like with the fouls or with blowing rotations and stuff, like he's been locked in. And I think that changes. I think the two things that change the ceiling majorly is can Embiid be Embiid and can Tobias play consistently well outside of just the shooting and scoring? Can he play defense like this throughout the whole stretch? Can he make the right plays on offense, moving the ball, doing all of that, not making it into Toby ball? And so far, so good. I hope that it continues. I'm like about to pass out. I'm so tired.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah. But to the Toby points.
Let's close it
before we get out of here. We've now seen this now for like 9 playoff games, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm optimistic it's going to continue.
Yes.
But yes, we should get out of here. We've been riding the high for a while. But
I know. Eventually, the dopamine crashed like 10 minutes ago, and I'm just like, "Oh right, you woke up at 7 a.m. this morning."
Hey man, we got to be well rested for the Mother's Day evening. It's going to be a good time.
That's right. I will say this much. I'm going to close on this. Joel Embiid, amazing. Love it. I think the fact that he came back means everything to the team and to the city and to him, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think that if they come out and they have a convincing win on Sunday, that this is not the same Sixers team. Because if the same Sixers team would have come out and looked as flat as they did at times tonight and lose this game, or they would have made them come down to the wire and made us sweat it out. The old Sixers team would have made us do that. The old Sixers team would lose Sunday and in crushing fashion after getting our hopes up after game 3. If they win on Sunday, and especially if it's convincing, that I will admit that the Sixers have turned a new leaf and that they are a new team. And it's like Chiodo said, until they get to I feel like all I ever do is quote Chiodo, but like until they get to the conference finals, they need to prove it to me until I see that. So I think next team's big.
It's poetic that the Drew Holiday, Iguodala, they got to a game 7. Round 2. That's where we need to get to grade this team, and perhaps the difference between the new and old is just a difference between a Maxey and a Ben. We'll see.
I hope so. Oh, Harden and a Maxey.
Well, yeah, he's pretty important too. But I'm just gonna ride the Tyrese Maxey high forever.
But yes, I do want to say if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, or even better, if they get to the finals, there are some very tasty takes and tweets that will be dug up regarding all of this.
People don't forget.
I will never forget. My bookmarks are filled, folks. So let's hope those get to be accessed, and I'm not on the other end of that, being the one that is being ratioed. So, all right, Emart, thanks so much for coming on, bud. I appreciate it. Go Sixers. Have fun on Sunday. I'm very jealous. Should be a great time.
Right on. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, bud. Peace.
Peace.